This is my most viewed video. It was a short film I made for a contest held by popular Twitch streamer QTCinderella, and it did way better than I expected. So why did this video, which opens with me bawling my eyes out, do so well? To be honest with you, I have no idea. I do have some theories, which I'll share later in the video, but if you're clicking on this video to figure out ways to maximize viewer retention or increase your impressions, I'm not your guy. If you want some of that, you can go watch a Colin and Samir video. Now that we got that out of the way, let me explain to you how this all came to be. On January 22nd, QTCinderella announced that she'd be holding a romance-themed short film festival that would occur a month from that date, February 22nd. The qualifications were that it had to be romance-themed or romance-adjacent. It also had to be under 4 minutes. There had to be a boombox within the film, whether like could be hidden in a shot, it could be a picture of a boombox, whatever it was. And there also had to be a line that said, "She's a superstar," which I kind of messed up a little bit, but it turned out to be fine. Now, QT's done these short film contests like a few times beforehand, and I've always meant to make my own, but never ended up really doing it. But this time around, I said, fuck it. You know, I should get off my lazy ass and actually make something. It also kind of helped that there would be a pretty big cash prize. So that's how To Be Heartless was born. It was a pretty simple idea that I had. Guy gets heartbroken, finds out there's a new heartbreak surgery to get his heart removed, and, you know, things pretty much end up the way you think they would. You know, things fall apart. So I guess it turned out to be a pretty good idea because I ended up getting 10th in the entire competition that QTCinderella held and won $200, which I know it's not like a crazy amount, but it's still really good money, and it's the first amount of money that I've ever received for making a video, which is pretty cool. So with that all being said, let me show you how I made it. So basically, I'm going to take you guys through a few scenes and explain the thought process behind them and basically how I made them. So yeah, this is it. This is the timeline for To Be Heartless. It's nothing crazy. You know, I've done crazier things before. It's only 4 minutes as well. So this was the first thing I filmed. As soon as I got the idea, I basically just sat on my floor and feigned crying, which I'll be real with you, is how I cry. It's a little embarrassing. I know how I cry, and it doesn't sound good. But, you know, you gotta be authentic. You know, I'm a real actor here. I gotta be true to myself. So, this is basically the shot. If you were ever curious as to how these shots look straight out of the camera, I can get rid of these color filters. So, this is the color. So, yeah, very big difference. And then I also have a highlight around myself just for the funsies. Once you sort of like see a contrast, you can very much tell that there's like a super big highlight going on. But you know, once you stack all the like the filters and stuff like that, you can't really tell. And I think it looks pretty good. One thing I wanted to show you guys about this scene is kind of this quick little zoom that's gonna happen around here. Yeah. So when you play it, it kind of just looks like a
Are you sick of heartbreak? Tired of endlessly sobbing over your ex?
huge crash zoom all in camera onto the boombox. However, I can't really do that by myself. I basically filmed this whole entire thing with me setting up the camera on a tripod and then, you know, running around in front of the camera and doing the action. So there's no like person behind the camera moving the camera and zooming in. So to start off this zoom, I kind of just did a crash zoom in camera, not in camera, in post. And then I cut right here. It's pretty obvious when you go through it frame by frame. You know, you jump from here to here. So this is basically a cut here. And then I just sort of, this one I zoomed in camera and stayed on this frame. Then I kind of just like mapped out the framing in my head and applied it to this little match cut right here to when I'm in the hospital. This is also the second thing I want to talk about. A lot of people talk to me about this and they're like, dude, this like actually looks like you're in a hospital. And it's pretty easy to feign a hospital, especially when you're not covering that much of it with, you know, a lot of angles. I basically only have 2 here. I have this scene right here and then the top-down point of view. But basically, I was in my basement and I have the ceilings that have like just like the squares that you can kind of like poke out, you know, the ones that you used to like shoot pencils into in school. So I was able to hang stuff pretty easily from, you know, those ceiling rafter things, whatever they are. So basically, I took sheets and hung them up for this background right here. I also had like a cot that I could use to sort of lay down on, and obviously I bought a hospital gown to sort of sell the image. So right here, you literally cannot tell where we are, spatially, but you can pretty much assume that this is a hospital. And then next comes the delivery scene. So as you can tell, this guy is me, and then this guy right over here is also me. Later on in the scene, you see delivery guy me hand me in the house a package, and then inside me comes out and kicks the box, right? So what I basically did was set up a stationary camera outside, film the scene 2 different times as each character, then stitch the 2 shots into one. It's a pretty simple trick a lot of people use to duplicate themselves. Also, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I'm wearing the Yard t-shirt. This is slime, smoking crack on the back of that. little Easter egg for the folks. And then lastly, we have the clothes change sequence, which is here. So essentially what I did here was set up my camera on a Ronin gimbal, which is typically used for stabilization. However, on the app, there's a feature where you can map out the camera movement as soon as you hit record. So we can start at this door and end up at my bed. So once I hit this button, the camera's gonna start from the door and head over to my bed the same exact way every single time. So essentially, if I do this 10 different times with 10 different outfits, I can take each take, cut them together, and make it look like I'm changing clothes like a Sims character. So, why is this my most viewed video? Well, here are my theories. What I know for a fact is that the video hit some sort of algorithm and began to be suggested under videos with, a lot of views. Oftentimes, YouTube will suggest your video, but it will be under, separate videos that have like 5 views, 6 views, so you're not getting a lot of traffic through those suggestions. With this one specifically, I was suggested under some pretty big videos. I mean, I didn't know what they were at the time, but as you can see, the highest percentage of viewership that I got from a suggestion was Amphibaby and the Boy Who Gave Birth to a Cat. Weird names, but these are both short films that have like 1 million+ views. So a lot of traffic. A lot of people are watching these videos and seeing my video in the suggested tab and clicking on my short film. But why did this specifically get into the algorithm? My first thought is that it was a part of a content creators competition. I was in QTCinderella's short film contest. People were watching my short film through her stream and then her YouTube video later on. But I also didn't really see a spike of viewership or subs after the contest, so I don't really think there was much conversion there. As you can see here, the first search term was Travis Nunes and the second was QTCinderella short film contest. But the proportion of my total traffic was literally 0.4%, so basically nothing. My second idea is that it's one of the most relatable films that I've made, so it could have just appealed to more people. A lot of my short films are sort of silly. They have like weird concepts that aren't really personable. This is the first personal thing I've made, so maybe people liked it. I don't know. And then 3, luck. I think it's luck that your video gets suggested under videos with lots of views. It's luck that it hits some sort of algorithm, but that's just me and my experience. I don't really know. Anyways, that's it for me. Go watch my newest short film, It Was You. It is way better than To Be Heartless. So watch that first, then Heartless if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, and